Kia ora, goeiemorgen, good morning to the South Africans. Good evening, actually, down that side, and good morning to the New Zealanders this morning. Guys and girls, my name is Viljoen, all the way from Welcome Bay down in Tauranga. I'm a financial advisor, and I help South Africans with all their financial needs down here, as well as risk insurance. So that is what I do. Down from the Bay of Plenty this morning, we have Kerri Selby. She was one of the people that has just arrived back in New Zealand from South Africa. So she's one of the few lucky ones that could get out. And we are going to talk to her a bit this morning. So goeiemorgen, good morning to everybody who just joined us. I see we've got about 15 people there. But good morning, Kerri. How are you?
Hello, good morning. I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Kerri had an early morning because she actually misspelled her name, her own name. So
sorry, guys, it's been a journey.
Kerri, you are a dual citizen, you're a South African, and you are a New Zealand citizen.
Yes, I am both.
Okay. Was that did that have a good experience for you or not?
I'm going to be honest. Never wanted to not have my South African passport more, but only because at the end there, they weren't letting anyone with South African passports out, regardless of visas, where we had lived, dual citizenship, anything. And that, honestly, I think that was my breaking point almost at the end there. I was like,
okay.
Oh.
But you left South Africa on your New Zealand passport?
No. I left South Africa on my South African passport. Towards the end there, I think the consulate actually tried to help us, and there was a bunch of people working. Vera Bosch was working to try and help us get back here. And so they ended up saying anyone with dual citizenship or families or PR in another country can leave. So thank goodness.
Right. And when did this all start? How did this happen?
I want to say
before COVID, but after COVID, how did it start?
It's been a journey of trying to get Cameron's visa, which is fine, but it all
Cameron is Kerri's husband. He's also South African. It's his first time out of the country, so
bless his heart. I've now taken him the whole way around the world, and I've just been like, enjoy. But yeah, so we were actually meant to leave. I am a teacher, a qualified teacher. And in South Africa, I was specializing in Down syndrome education. So we were actually meant to leave South Africa in December of 2019. And instead, my boss at the time just said, listen, please can you stay until the end of term one, and then, just to settle sort of the little boy that I was working with into school, which I did. And I don't have any regrets because I actually love him to absolute death. But obviously, we were meant to leave before COVID hit, and then as we were meant to leave, COVID happened. So, it's been an absolute journey. I think, we had I was watching a lot of the lives from Jacinda Ardern and Winston Peters and whatnot, and we were told, Kiwis, come home while you still can.
That's right.
And I was like, okay. So we started making plans to come home, and we woke up the next day and all our flights had been cancelled, and people that had gone to the airport to try and leave, their flights were cancelled. And it was just, honestly, it was straight away. It wasn't even, there was no time, So
really quickly, eh?
I don't think anyone actually realizes how fast it actually happened when you're stuck in another country and they're like, come home. And then all of a sudden there's no way to get home.
In South Africa, in which town were you guys?
So we were in KZN. We were actually living in a flat. So we both had resigned from our jobs previously. Obviously, we knew we were leaving. We had put up notice on our flat and everything. So we were stuck. So when lockdown happened, obviously they were like, you can't move house. So we were stuck in an empty flat, no jobs, had to pay electricity and stuff. Thank goodness we both have very loving parents who were able to help us, because a lot of people didn't actually have that. And
you guys flew out from Johannesburg?
Yeah. So we had to finally, it was a lot of back and forth by the time we even got to Joburg. It was like phoning the New Zealand consulate, phoning Qatar Airways, because initially we were supposed to have a flight that was a chartered flight. And that was going to take a really long time. That was from Joburg to Jakarta, Jakarta to Sydney to Auckland.
Okay.
Yeah, and being a chartered flight, it wasn't going to have any creature comforts of like, you know, TV and whatnot. So, and that fell through, which was very, very disappointing. And then we had another flight booked, and then New Zealand actually said that they were going to do a repatriation flight. So for us, I was like, okay, amazing. And those flights ended up being 5,500 New Zealand dollars each. So I was like, okay, what do we do now? And actually, you know, we're so blessed. Our friends banded together and created a fundraiser. And I had already sold my car in South Africa, so we had enough for one ticket. And our friends created a fundraiser and helped us raise enough money within 4 days to get that.
Right.
Super blessed.
That's a big amount of money to raise, actually.
Yeah, it was like 60 at the time. It was like 66,000 rand or something. And yeah, so we raised that money in 4 days.
Okay. How did you guys get from Durban to Johannesburg?
Okay, so then what happened was the repatriation flight fell through, unfortunately, because Qatar Airways decided they were going to do chartered flights.
Okay.
And a repatriation flight can only happen if there's absolutely no other way. And so we found out that in order to get this chartered flight, we would need to get to Johannesburg. And luckily, we were only coming from KZN, but there were people coming from Cape Town, which is an immense trip. And so, yeah, so we had to figure out that, which was fine. We got my stepdad actually is the most amazing person, and he drove us down. We got a letter from the consulate to say, you know, please give them safe passage. And remarkably, we only got stopped once.
Okay.
So, and they didn't even ask for papers. They just said to us, take your temperature. And I was 32 on the thermometer. So essentially I should have not been alive, but that's fine. So I don't know how great their thermometers are. But yeah, we actually didn't need to get to Pretoria. We didn't need to get to Joburg or Tambo. We had to go to Pretoria to the Qatari embassy.
Okay.
So yeah, so we all got there, and you know, there was people from not just from New Zealand. There were people from France, Sweden, Poland, Korea, Australia. There were so many people. There was about 400 people on the road.
And how many of those? Only the New Zealanders flew with Qatar, or did all of them fly on the same flight?
So all of us got on the same flight. Absolutely zero social distancing on that first flight. We were all crammed in there like sardines, and we all went to Doha, so that central hub, and then from there everyone kind of split and went to the places that they needed to.
What happened at Doha? Temperatures taken again or so?
Yeah, no. So okay, so when we left the Pretoria consulate, we got our temperature taken at OR Tambo.
Okay.
And our bags got sniffed by sniffer dogs, and there were like so many police, so many security, so many sort of personnel. It was very intense. And then when we got to Doha, no one took our temperatures. We just landed, and we were there for 19 hours.
19 hours in Doha. Goodness me.
Yeah.
So what did you do for 19 hours?
Okay, so I mean, they have options. Obviously, the whole airport's closed. There was, I think Burger King was open, and I want to say Japanese place was open. Okay. And so and there might have been a coffee shop as well, actually. So we were very, very blessed and decided to dive into the credit card and go over our limit, and we went to the lounge.
Okay.
So there was also a hotel available. So I think if there's anyone sort of making that trip and they have babies or young children, there is a hotel available. But with the hotel, you don't get food. There is room service, but you just get a bed and a shower. Whereas with the lounge, it's a bit more. They feed you the whole time. There's constant coffee, constant drinks, and there's showers available. But I can't see it being ideal with a baby.
That's right. So you at least could freshen up a bit in this 19 hours.
Yeah, and we ate our heart's content. We ate like that restaurant. I was like, we are making that money up. We will eat everything. So that's essentially what
What
we
does it cost to go into one of those lounges?
Okay, so it was very expensive. It was 1,000 rand a person.
Okay.
And it's only for 6 hours. So we have completely maxed our credit card pretty much, but it was worth it. Honestly, I couldn't have seen us surviving 19 hours there. And yeah, we were super blessed actually. We'd helped a couple people on the other groups to try and get back, and we'd given a lot of information. And one of the ladies was so grateful. Her name's Sonia. She actually paid for one of our stays at the lounge.
Okay.
And sort of graced us with that, and it was honestly amazing.
Yeah. Well, it's hectic times, and I'm glad a lot of people is taking hands during this hectic time.
Yeah.
It's absolutely wonderful how people come together when something bad like this strikes the whole world.
100%. The support it's crazy. We
Amazing.
had people on our fundraiser that I hadn't seen since I was like 8 years old. Don't help us get home. I mean, that's insane.
But at least it sounds as if you were not a very naughty 8-year-old thing.
Yeah, I know. I was trying to think back. I was like, was I very nice to this person? Did I do anything I shouldn't have? But like, yeah, apparently I was a nice person, so that's good.
Okay, it helped. But the journey didn't stop in Doha. What happened after Doha?
So much, Jan. The flight to Doha was not comfortable at all. I mean, just to lay that out there for anyone flying, there was no blankets, there was no pillows. It was, it wasn't comfortable. The plane was a bit old or whatever, but the Doha to Sydney flight was lovely. It wasn't very full. We were able to sort of lie down. Cameron and I had 3 seats between us, so I slept a lot of the time, and the staff were lovely. The food was great. And once you get to Sydney, you land, or I'm not sure, I can't speak for Melbourne, but once you get to Sydney, we landed. They asked us to remain seated. People from Sydney Airport in full PPE. It's quite a weird experience to fly with your air hostesses in PPE.
So for the whole flight, they wore PPE?
Yep. Big glasses, masks, Eskimo, like the whole 9 yards. So
it's actually hectic, but on the other side, they are taking a chance on you guys.
100%, and that's also something I just want to, really like drive home to people, is that these people are essentially risking their lives to get us home, and you need to be gracious and you need to be understanding. And they're tired and they're scared and they aren't with their families, and you just need to be as understanding as possible. But yeah, so then
big shout out to them. Let's say, well done.
Honestly, like these people are putting their lives at risk to get us to where we need to be, and I think we all need to remember that.
That's right. All right, you arrive in Sydney.
Yeah, so we arrived in Sydney. No, not for us, luckily, but we did need to wear masks, and we stopped. The plane was a little bit hot. You're excited. You're running around. I was like grabbing my stuff, and I changed into shoes out of my jandals, my slops, which I shouldn't have done. And you stand in a really long line. You walk for a bit, and then they start taking your temperatures. And my temperature was 37.5.
Okay.
Which is fine. It's kind of the threshold, but there's nothing wrong with that. You would only sort of send a kid home from school if their temperature was 38 or whatever, but 37.5, and they said to me, we're going to have to test you again. So there were a few people that had to have tests done, and so I was like, oh.
By now you were booked on the next flight already, am I right?
Yeah. So we were supposed to be leaving the next day.
All right. So you had to stay over in Sydney.
Yes, and you get put up in a hotel, and they feed you, and they arrange transport to and from the airport.
All right.
And you don't get a choice where you stay. You kind of you go where you're told. And they, so don't argue that. Just do what you're told. But yeah, so we sat down for about sort of 2 minutes, and we were the last people to really get tested. And they took my temperature again, and it hadn't moved. And they were like, I'm so sorry, you're going to have to go get a COVID test. And my heart just like fell down. I was just like, no, because I knew that they weren't going to come back immediately. And it was late, we were tired, and so we went and we had to go and get through immigration and go through another long corridor, and we had to have our COVID test done, both Cameron and I.
Oh, okay.
And it's not as hectic in Australia as it is in South Africa, if that makes anyone feel better. They don't go as high, and it's not for as long. So, yeah, so we went and had that, and the lady said to me, right before we had it done, she was like, you're fine. She was like, I can see that you're fine. Everything's okay. Let me take your temperature again, which she did, and it was 73. 30, not 73. It was 37.
Okay.
And she said to me, listen, I'm going to go and chat to the head nurse, and I'm going to see if we can actually just get this, like, you can just go and you can leave tomorrow. So I said, okay, perfect. She did that, and unfortunately, the nurse said, no, we need to be safe. And I totally understand that. 0 cases in New Zealand. So yeah, so we had to then go, and she said, listen, you're going to be put in an isolation hotel until your test comes back. You and your husband will not be able to be in the same room together. And that was me. I was like done. I was crying. I was like, I can't believe I'm going to be separated from him. I was really upset. It's so scary being in a new country. You don't really know the rules and regulations. I mean, I've lived in South Africa for a really long time, regardless of being a Kiwi. And yeah, for me, it was stressful. But the staff are divine. They are so lovely. You were so looked after. They could see how upset I was that first night. They did 3 welfare checks before we fell asleep to make sure that I was okay and calm and safe. And yeah, they're amazing.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So unfortunately,
so you were in the one hotel, and then you are now being moved to a different hotel.
No, so we hadn't even left the airport yet.
Okay.
Our people who were on the flight had already gone to their like nice, overnight hotel, and we were getting taken to another one by a private car.
Okay.
Yeah. So then our flight was meant to be leaving right away the next morning at because we had to. So once you land in Sydney, you then have to book a flight with Air New Zealand. So it's not a connecting flight. You do have to do 2 separate flights.
Okay.
And so yeah, so we had to book a flight with Air New Zealand, and we were supposed to be leaving at 9:55 in the morning. Obviously, our tests had not come back by then, and so we had to rearrange our flights, which was fine. They rearranged them, but unfortunately, the next flight out was 3 days later on Tuesday morning.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so I was kind of just at the stage rolling with the punches. I was like, what can you do? There's nothing I can do about it as long as I came back negative.
Yeah.
So Cameron's test came back and his was negative.
Okay.
And I figured, okay, mine's also going to be negative, but his came back at about 2 p.m. on Saturday. And mine came back at about 7 p.m. on Saturday, and we were luckily COVID free.
But you guys were still split apart now?
Yeah. So then we had to apply for cohabitation. We had to sign a bunch of things and acknowledge that if one of us developed symptoms, the other one would, regardless of our negative tests. And yeah, so Saturday night again, separate rooms, but we had Wi-Fi and everything. So Cameron and I literally were just on the phone to each other the whole time. So it wasn't like we were alone. And let me just tell you, everyone, the Wi-Fi in Australia and New Zealand is like, oh my gosh, it is amazing. Everything's so clear. There's no buffering.
And you were used to South African speeds.
Yeah. So him and I could speak for like 6 hours, and I saw him the whole time. It didn't cut the call once. It was amazing. I was like, this is phenomenal. And so, yeah, so then the next morning I woke up. Obviously, we were both still very, very jet lagged. And I woke up to my phone ringing and about 15 missed calls from Cameron because they were going to put him into my room. So that happened on Sunday morning, which was awesome.
All right. I just want to say to anybody watching, if you guys got any questions at this stage, please feel free to ask them on the different forums, and I'll pop them up for Kerri just to answer that to us. So Sunday morning, Cameron joined you.
Yes. So then we were in the room. Honestly, it was so nice because then I had someone to like make me coffee and so yeah, it was, and they looked after us. We had biscuits. We had fresh fruit, we had yogurt, we had chips, we had cereal, we had beautifully cooked meals. It was lovely.
Okay. So you were at least well cared for.
Very well cared for. Honestly, we were allowed to go up to the roof for 15 minutes a day. Obviously, if there was enough nurses, because everything needs to be supervised. And because we were at a proper COVID, like a COVID isolation hotel, you weren't allowed to leave your room at all. You had to be very, very careful, and you had to wear a mask at all times.
Okay. And at least your rooms had bathrooms and those type of stuff.
Oh, yeah. No. Bathrooms, hot water, massive TV, a microwave, a kettle, a fridge. You could order Uber Eats if you wanted, and it was lovely.
And the food was delivered to your room?
Yeah, and so it was delivered frozen, and you needed to warm that up yourself, because obviously there was an issue with sort of, I guess, outside parties and whatnot. But the food was phenomenal.
All right. At least that's something.
It was not like your proper frozen meals. It was like a completely, I think they'd cooked it and then frozen it straight away.
Okay.
And so it was very fresh. It was lovely.
Oh, well, it didn't sound too bad, but I mean, you guys were on flights for how many days? What, 8 days? 7
Yeah,
days?
so by the time we got to New Zealand, we'd been traveling since the 19th, and we arrived here on the 26th.
That's 7 days, yep. That's probably the longest flight ever to New Zealand. So.
I was desperate to get home, guys. I would have traveled for like 3 weeks if I had to.
I fully understand that. We should actually try the Guinness Book of Records for the longest flight to New Zealand and see.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, when we got on the Air New Zealand flight, and as we landed, the pilot said, "Kia ora, I know that a lot of you have been traveling for a very long time and that you're so happy to be here, but I just want to let you know that you're safe and you're home. Welcome back." And I just started crying. I was just so emotional, and it was just so nice to hear that.
It's actually lovely. People who's never been to New Zealand, the way they accept you here at customs is totally different. It just makes you actually want to stay here, or make you feel, I'm so glad I'm back home. So
absolutely agree with you. Like they were like, you're safe now. It's okay. Yeah. You're home. We're going to look after you. They were just absolutely divine. Honestly, I have forgotten how much I love my home, and I will never take it for granted again.
Somebody's asking the same question as this one. I want to ask you next. So what is happening at the New Zealand airport?
Okay, so at the New Zealand airport, you get taken off the plane row by row. So you it's not everyone at one time, and there is it's lined with people, just with security and police and whatnot. You don't have to wear a mask.
Okay.
Which is fantastic. I have asthma, so I was wearing those material masks and I was just struggling. So yeah, no mask, and you go through and you fill out a form, obviously your landing form, which everyone fills out, and it's now had an added piece to it about COVID. Okay. And you get your temperature taken, and you do have to say whether you'd had a COVID test before. So obviously we had our COVID test, and then you get taken through, they take your temperature, and then from there you figure out if you're going to a managed isolation, so if you've got any symptoms, or if your temperature's a bit high, or if you're going to a normal quarantine hotel.
All right.
And you only find out where you're going when you're on the bus, so when you get there.
Were you tested again?
No, I wasn't tested again, but my temperature was taken.
All right.
And there is a place to get tested, so there's a lot of medical sort of curtains and whatnot.
Was your temperature better than in Australia?
Yeah, it was 36.8.
Okay, at least.
Oh my gosh, before I started taking my temperature, I took my jersey off. I was wearing slops. I was like, there's no way that I'm having a hot temperature again. So every precaution.
Oh yeah. And then the treatment so far, you guys are still in this isolation, am I right?
Yeah, so currently we are at the Crown Plaza in Auckland. And honestly, I couldn't actually be more grateful or thankful. It's a lot more relaxed. You're allowed to walk around whenever you want, sort of around the hotel. There's a smoking area for smokers. You can go on an hour walk or 45 minutes walk a day. It is managed. So you go from here to a little park, and then there's a little section that you're allowed in, and you can sort of do your running or whatever in there.
Okay.
I didn't. I just stood there with my umbrella, but like you can run if you want. And yeah, it's lovely. The people are divine. I mean, you can order Uber Eats. Unfortunately, we're still on in South African credit cards, so I'm desperate for like Hell's Pizza, but there's no way that we're going to spend that money on our South African rands. But yeah, the people are lovely.
Yeah. Hey, man. Hey. So,
and our room is honestly like we have a massive window overlooking Queen Street. We have a huge bed, a TV, we have a couch in our room, a bath, everything. Oh, our breakfast has actually just arrived.
okay.
Yeah. But
well,
yeah,
it's nearly time for me to say goodbye to you.
I know, yeah.
Then you can go and have breakfast. So.
It's I'll show you actually if I can how it arrives.
Wow. What are you having this morning?
So you choose what you want sort of the day before, or they give you a menu, so it arrives like this.
All right.
And let's see what I have. I think so. We have a pastry.
Okay.
Cereal. Oh, yum. Fresh fruit.
All right.
Fresh juice.
Okay.
Apple.
An apple a day for the doctor.
Yep. They're very concerned about your health. And then yum.
Oh my goodness. That's bacon, eh?
Yeah. Bacon, hash browns, and eggs. And you are very, very looked after. Honestly, there's nothing that I could fault here. The people, one of the security guards actually came to us yesterday, and it made me forget actually how important your mental health is in New Zealand. Yeah. And one of the security guards came to us and he said, you know, guys, we're here to help. If there's anything you need, if you just need someone to talk to, if you are isolated, please just come and reach out to us. We're happy to talk to you. That's right. And again, I wanted to cry. I was just like, thank you so much. Like, you know, it was just, thank you so much.
Yeah. How is the mental health keeping up with the pace you guys have been going?
Yeah, I'm not going to lie, not great. I think I've really struggled. I think just because it's been a huge journey and it's been a lot of disappointment. I think, you know, I hate to say it, but I feel like it's almost been a bit traumatic because you've woken up every day with bad news. But yeah, it's fine. I think where we are, you know, there's so many ready people available to help. We'll be fine.
That's right. Question from a Facebook user: do you have to pay for the isolation room?
No, so we don't have to pay for it. I think as being a Kiwi, and even if you're not a Kiwi, you don't have to pay for it at the moment. Everything's handled by the government. I don't know, obviously, if that's going to change in the future, though.
All right, but you have to pay for certain meals.
No, yeah, like if you want to get Uber Eats, or if you want to get a delivery, you can also get Countdown delivered. And then there's a coffee station on one of the floors that you can go and get coffee.
Okay. When can you leave and go home? Good question.
Okay, so yeah, that is something I'm very excited. As much as it is lovely here, I'm excited to see my friends and stuff. I waved at one of my friends from the window yesterday. Okay. We're on the 16th floor, so it was like, we can leave and go home. We're actually not sure. The isolation period is for 14 days. Obviously, if you become symptomatic, regardless of whether it's COVID or not, you do have to stay longer. But yeah, we find out, I think, in the next couple of days. One of the Ministry of Health people will call us and let us know our date.
All right, so at least another
12 days.
12 days, basically. Up around there.
I think like around June 8th, I think, is what we figured out, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
And I mean, you probably would have had your temperature taken again before the time.
No, so yeah, so here at this hotel, they don't take your temperature unless you have to, but they do come around and just do like a welfare check and see that you're fine once a day.
Okay. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
All right. And if you guys are really looking out for a Hell's Pizza, let me know. From our side, we'll sponsor you each a Hell's Pizza.
Oh my God.
Tell me which evening.
You're amazing, Jan.
Okay, so that's from our side. I don't know which is the nearest Hell's Pizza to you. Let me know about that, and I'll see that.
Oh, Jan, I could never thank you enough. You're amazing. Right. Cameron will give you a free haircut one day.
No, thanks a lot. Yeah, by the way, hubby is a hairdresser. And are you going back to
barber? Yeah. So that so I am. I actually have a job lined up in Christchurch already. This was before COVID. unfortunately, because COVID did hit, it has been frozen, but I'm sure that it'll be unfrozen at some stage. As a teacher, I'm sure I could pick up relief work as well, and I'm registered with the council and a Kiwi, so I'm not too worried. I'm very, very lucky.
We are doing a South Island trip in a few months. I think it's somewhere in October, and yep. If I'm in Christchurch, I'm going to come and say hi to you.
Absolutely, and Cameron would do a free barber's cut for that health pizza. So there you go.
No, it's fine. Let me know about the house pizza, and thanks for being part of our show this morning.
No
really
problem.
Fun having you here.
And just I wanted to say, if anyone does have any questions or they are concerned, if you are okay with it, I'm happy for them to pop me a message and just help anyone out.
And I know you're going to get a lot of friend invites now, and people want to come over and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I can't give any sort of advices to INZ, and I don't know, but I can give it as much advice as possible about that journey and sort of what's to be expected. I think it makes it so much easier.
All right. Kerri, thank you very much. I'm going to pop you out of the
very much, guys.
Okay. Thanks, eh?
Bye.
Okay. Bye. All right, guys and girls, that was Kerri Selby all the way from South Africa, traveled to New Zealand and currently in isolation here. Wow, what a journey that was. All right, that's me this morning. Lovely sunrise, open skies. It's still cold down here in Bay of Plenty. It's about 8 degrees this morning for a startup, and then the weekend it looks like it's going to go a bit rainy. Myself, I'm probably traveling down to the New Plymouth Way this weekend just to have a see and look what's happening down that side, because I haven't been to New Plymouth yet. So from Friday onwards, I'll be traveling the country down that side until the Queen's birthday, then return back to Bay of Plenty. So we'll take a lot of footage for you guys and share that on the page as we go along. Guys, and this weekend also, our talent competition comes to an end. I think it's on Monday or so that it comes to an end, and we'll choose a winner by that time. So thank you very much. Thanks to everybody who listens to us every morning, and we'll see you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.